everyone, and welcome back. We asked for interesting deep dives, and you definitely delivered on this one. Thanks to that IDTechEx report you sent, we're going to dig into the world of electric construction machines. I mean, come on, electric bulldozers,
Yeah.
excavators, the really big stuff going electric. And hold on, before you think this is just another one of those go green things, think again. This is about saving some serious green, as in cash. We're going to uncover some pretty surprising numbers on how much money these electric machines can actually save you.
It really makes you think about how we usually look at equipment costs.
Yeah.
We always get hung up on that initial price tag, but this IDTechEx report, it really opened my eyes to the whole total cost of ownership thing.
Yeah, the TCO. I've been trying to wrap my head around that with my own equipment lately. Like, I never even considered the disposal fees for those old diesel engines. Talk about a hidden cost. But, sorry, I'm getting off track. So TCO, what all does that really include?
Actually, you bringing that up is perfect. Disposal is definitely part of it, but TCO goes way beyond that. It means looking at like the entire life of the machine, from the day you buy it through all the fuel, the maintenance, and yeah, like you said, even to the day you finally get rid of it.
Okay, so it's kind of like when you compare getting a super cheap used car that might end up costing you a fortune in repairs later versus spending a bit more upfront for something more reliable.
Exactly. And get this, to really hit this home, the ID TechX report, they use a 20-ton excavator as an example. Over its lifetime, they calculated that going electric could save you a really impressive $75,000 in fuel costs alone.
Hold up, wait, $75,000 just in fuel. So you're saying switching to electric could actually make up a huge chunk of that initial cost difference, maybe even within just a few years. Okay, now you've got my attention. How did they even, figure that out?
So they based it on a 12,000-hour lifespan, and they used average energy prices from Europe, where diesel's going for something like $2 a liter. And just to compare, electricity over there is only about 30 cents per kilowatt hour.
Just a quick heads up for everyone listening. A kilowatt hour, that's basically just how we measure electricity use over time. Makes it way easier to compare to something like diesel.
Exactly. And those savings, man, they add up really quickly, especially for those machines that go through fuel like crazy.
Okay, now I get why everyone's talking about electric. But it can't just be about fuel costs, right? There's got to be more to it.
You're totally right. There's another really interesting piece to this puzzle, and it's all about the costs of just keeping these things running, the day-to-day stuff, all those moving parts in a diesel engine. Well, with electric machines, you can ditch a lot of that complexity.
So fewer parts, fewer things to break down, which means less downtime for repairs, which means more money staying in my pocket. Okay, I like where this is going.
You're going to like this even more. IDTechEx found that maintaining these electric machines can cost up to 50% less than keeping those diesel ones running.
Wait, 50%? You're saying we could be talking about cutting those maintenance costs? That's huge. But we've been talking about these big 20-ton excavators. What about smaller machines?
That's a great point. Actually, when you look at the smaller guys, like those mini excavators or the smaller loaders, the difference in maintenance costs, it's even more noticeable. Since they're not using up as much fuel as the big boys, those savings on maintenance become a much bigger part of that whole TCO picture.
No, it's all starting to add up. Lower fuel costs, way less maintenance. This almost sounds too good to be true. Okay, but I gotta ask. With all these pluses, there's got to be a reason why everyone isn't ditching their old diesel stuff for these electric machines, right? What's the catch?
You're right to wonder about that. There's always a trade-off. And right now, it mostly comes down to the cost of switching in the first place. Those new electric construction machines, especially the big ones, they still cost a lot more than the diesel ones.
Ah, so that's the hurdle. Makes sense, but what is it that makes them so much pricier up front? Is it just because the technology is still pretty new?
That's a big part of it. The battery, that's the main thing that's expensive right now. The ID TechEx report, they say those batteries are going for about $300 per kilowatt hour these days, which, to be fair, that's down from $500 just a few years ago.
Wow, that is a big drop in a short time. So does that mean we can hope they'll keep getting cheaper?
Exactly. As the tech gets even better and more companies start making them, they'll become more affordable. IDTechs even suggests we could see battery prices drop to $200 per kilowatt hour, which would be huge.
That's really good to hear. But what about the people who are switching over already, even with those higher upfront costs? What's making them take the plunge?
That's where governments are stepping in with policies and incentives. Some cities and even entire countries are offering some pretty sweet deals to get people to switch to electric construction equipment.
Like what? How are they making it worth it?
Well, some places are offering grants to help cover some of that initial price difference. Even a little grant like $5 grand can make a difference. And then Other places are using what you might call a stick instead of a carrot. They're putting in emissions charges for certain areas, especially places trying to cut down on pollution, both air and noise.
So it's like a financial penalty for sticking with the diesel engines, makes those electric options even more attractive.
I like that they're using both approaches. But are these policies really making a difference yet, or is it too early to tell?
They're already having a big impact. And IDTechEx thinks this is just the beginning. They're predicting that sooner or later, construction equipment's going to have to meet emissions regulations, kind of like what we've got with cars now. That's a future I can get behind. But hey, let's not get ahead of ourselves. This whole shift to electric, it's not just about regulations and the costs. The tech itself has to be impressive to make people actually want to switch, right?
Absolutely. And we are seeing some seriously cool advancements in how these electric machines perform. All those old worries about them not being powerful enough or running out of juice too quickly, that's becoming a thing of the past. We're not just talking about little electric tools anymore. The industry's moving toward electrifying the heavy hitters, the big excavators, loaders, the works.
Now that's what I'm talking about. Big machines, big power, but all electric. It's kind of mind-blowing how fast this technology is changing things. Who's leading the charge on this, by the way?
It's actually China. It's really ahead of the game right now.
Yeah.
They're coming up with some seriously impressive machines.
China, huh? Not really that surprising, to be honest. They always seem to be one step ahead. But let's talk about those batteries for a minute. We've talked about the cost, but are there different types of batteries that work better for different types of machines? I mean, a jackhammer's got to have different needs than a massive crane, right?
You're absolutely right. And the IDTechEx report goes into that in detail. There's a whole world of lithium-ion batteries out there, each with its strengths and weaknesses.
So different batteries, different machines. It's like having a whole toolbox, but instead of hammers and screwdrivers, we're talking about lithium-ion power.
That's a great analogy. And for example, these lithium iron phosphate batteries, those are becoming pretty popular for these machines. They're known for lasting a long time and being really safe, which is obviously crucial on a construction site, even if they are a bit bigger than some other types.
It's amazing to think about how much these battery advancements are changing the whole construction world. Going through this report, it really feels like we're at a turning point. We've gone from those old, loud diesel engines to these powerful, quiet, and efficient electric machines. It's a whole new ballgame.
It really is. And it just goes to show you that being sustainable and making economic sense, those two things can actually go together. Remember that $75,000 in fuel savings we talked about? That's not just good for the environment, it's good for business.
Absolutely. And the fact that governments are actually starting to encourage this shift, it shows you how seriously everyone's taking this whole thing. This isn't just a fad, this is the future of construction.
I totally agree. I think it's safe to say those old diesel machines, their days are numbered. They might be hanging around for a bit longer, but their time is almost up.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? When you consider how much construction has changed already over the years, and here we are on the edge of another huge shift.
It's pretty exciting when you stop and think about it. What will construction sites look like in 10, 20 years? Sound like, for that matter. Definitely quieter, cleaner too, and way more efficient, that's for sure.
And to think, this whole deep dive came from that IDTechEx report you sent us. It's given us a lot to think about, that's for sure. I'm excited to see where this all goes.
Me too. It's an awesome time to be following the world of construction tech.
It really is. So, to everyone listening, here's something to chew on. Given everything we've talked about today, the cost savings, how fast the technology is improving, the push for greener cities, do you think there will come a day when those old, loud, diesel-powered construction sites are just a distant memory? Like something out of a history book, something to think about? And thanks for joining us on this electrifying deep dive.